Good evening and welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. We'll apologize for a slightly late start tonight. Today is Monday, July 23. If you call in, if you're interested in calling in with comments or questions, our call-in number is 769-1677. As always, you can watch us live on the government channel on either Optimum or Verizon Cable TV, and you can also watch live and within a few days pick up an on-demand webcast from pctv76.org. So a few announcements to make. The first is we're expecting the County Executive George Latimer to be coming here tonight, and when he arrives we will slot him into whatever business we're in the midst of. He has made a commitment to visit all of the 45 communities in Westchester in the course of his early months as County Executive, and tonight is our opportunity and we appreciate that. So when County Executive Latimer arrives, we'll stop whatever we're doing and give him an opportunity to share his thoughts with us. A few announcements to be made. We are now just over 1 week past the 14th Annual Pleasantville Music Festival, and I think it was, I think by all accounts, the smoothest yet. Bruce Figler, the Executive Director, and his team of department heads and the several hundred volunteers that back all of that up really did an extraordinary job, as they have in years past. A special shout out to the Recycling Committee and their Zero Waste Initiative. Whole bunch of folks spending the entire day down at Parkway Field helping folks sort recyclables and compostables and producing an extraordinarily low waste footprint for a festival of that size. So I think, as has been the case in recent years, Pleasantville looked really good that day. And that's just one of the reasons we do it. It's a great opportunity for a community event. It's a great opportunity to showcase all that Pleasantville has to offer in its cultural arts world. And it's also a great opportunity for lots of bands, including bigger bands that come from elsewhere, but also smaller bands that are from the region, to have an opportunity to appear on one of the three stages. So big shout out to Westchester Medical Center. They were our lead sponsor, as always. They've been our lead sponsor for some years running, and we deeply appreciate that support. Without that support, the whole thing wouldn't happen. And a shout out also to the Peak, which, as they have been for quite a few years running, was our broadcast sponsor, and we appreciate their participation as well. I encourage you to get yourself to PleasantvilleMusicFestival.com, where you can see the entire list of sponsors and read more about all the various bands, and over the coming weeks and months start to see some images and videos from this year's 14th Annual Festival. So our next mission is going to be to decide what day to have the 15th Annual, and we'll do that soon. So stay tuned and mark your calendars. Also wanted to report, as you painfully already know, that Con Ed is in this extended gas main project down here on Marble Avenue and on Bedford Road. It's going to go on another month. Have I got that right, Eric? Mm-hmm. So, necessary interval of darkness before light. It's going to be tough for quite a long while, but by the end of August, it all should be finished through the assistance of Senator Terrence Murphy and our county legislator, Margaret Quinzio. The entire length of Marble Avenue is going to get repaved when this is all done. So we'll have a nice, smooth road from Jean-Jacques all the way down into Thornwood to the Four Corners. So don't use it to speed, just enjoy the smooth ride. So great news from Best of Westchester. We had a number of our local businesses that were honored. Best Wine Purveyors, Donna Muller Photography, Jacob Burns Film Center, the Little Chocolate Shop, Pleasantville Farm Market, Pleasantville Music Festival, the Village Bookstore, and the Zwilling Cooking Studio at the Henkels Building. So congratulations to all of those folks. I think that's probably the longest list we've ever had, and it's just a manifestation of all the good stuff that's going on here in Pleasantville. Then lastly, folks have asked me, especially as we come off the discussion about the plastic bag ban issue, lots of talk about Key Food. Key Food has begun their renovation, so you will see some construction work going on down there, and happy to see that, and again, hope that it can happen without too much inconvenience to folks. Other announcements to be made?
I have one.
Go for it.
So this past weekend was the annual farmers market, Pleasantville Community Garden tie-up where people are allowed to buy one sort of and donate one of whatever they're buying. And I just want to report the results. The Pleasantville Community Garden, through the cooperation with the farmers market, was able to donate more than 700 pounds of fresh food to the Hillside Food Outreach, Neighbors Link, and 2A Home Houses. The interesting thing there is that now that's 5,600 pounds of fresh food since this year, and 51,000 pounds since the Pleasantville Community Garden began in 2014. That's, I believe, 25 tons-ish of food. So, big shout out to Dave, Margot, and Devin Juros, sort of the prime movers behind the Pleasantville Community Garden, and all the volunteers that make that whole organization work. We don't think about food insecurity around here very much, but I see it every time I work with them and drive food around. It's there, it's here, it's people we know, and to have these folks just create this entire organization out of thin air is a real, I think, a real accomplishment. So I just wanted to put that out there.
And am I right? Obviously, their core piece is the small garden they have in the side yard at St. John's Church on Sunnyside.
Correct.
They also use the school gardens?
Yes, they have school gardens, and they also have a program with the farmers at the farmers market. So, for instance, of the 700 pounds that they got over the weekend, I believe I have it right here, 530 pounds were paid for and donated by shoppers at the farmers market, and 170 pounds were donated by the farmers who are present at the farmers market. So it's a real partnership. It's a really good example of how everybody kind of coming together can make a serious difference. And you hand somebody who hasn't seen fresh fruit for a long time, and they're turning and giving it to their children. That's a pretty powerful message.
So as Steve already said, the Juros family has spearheaded this and turned it into such a great thing. It pleases me no end to think that on a pretty reasonable scale,
Yeah.
Local agriculture has come back to Pleasantville. New York.
Yeah.
So.
And I encourage anybody who would like to get involved, reach out to one of us on the village board, or the Pleasantville Community Garden has a website, and they, any and all, really, any comers. If you want to work in the garden, if you want to be a veggie driver, I'm a veggie driver, it's a lot of fun. It's really a wonderful organization to be part of. That's it.
Also wanted to announce that we have at the moment 2 vacancies on our planning commission, and also a vacancy in an alternate position on our zoning board, the latter being a position that brings people into a meeting only when they cannot otherwise produce a full board. So for example, if a board member recuses themselves from a specific matter, the alternate comes in. So anyone who's interested in either the planning commission position, which is 2 meetings a month, or the zoning board meeting, which is 1 meeting a month, we encourage them to come forward. I see entering the room our county executive, George Latimer, and I invite you to come right up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Enter and sign in, please.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you all tonight.
I mentioned to our television audience, since we have only one member of the press as our live audience, that you were coming, and you've been on a bit of a mission around Westchester, have you not?
I have indeed.
Yes.
And I appreciate you taking the time from your schedule tonight so I can visit with you and just share a couple of thoughts. There are 45 municipalities in Westchester County, 20 villages, 19 towns, 6 cities. And I decided that I wanted to make it a point of coming to each of the elected boards, not merely to say hello, because I have been here before, enjoyed your farmers market, which is as good as there is in the county, and for other events. And so
Best in Westchester this year.
Best in Westchester.
5th year in a row.
Congratulations.
We're not bragging.
And I agree from having visited. But I also wanted to share with you, and that's what I've just handed out for your purposes, an executive order that I put into place 6 months ago when I took office. And it's called the Good Neighbor Policy. And I want to just touch on it and take any of your questions. And then I'm happy to let you get out with the rest of your agenda. And then any other issues that we'd like to chat about, certainly if you want to raise some tonight, fine. If not, we can have a follow-up session, work session, what have you. The policy that you see before you is binding on all the departments of county government, with the exceptions of the ones that the county executive does not control: the district attorney, the board of legislators, the county clerk, and the board of elections. And in essence, what this order does is changes the way the county will act on matters that are within the county's purview for any county-owned facilities, any county property for which we have the ability to act fairly unilaterally, as you do on Pleasantville-owned property and parks and things of that nature. This changes the way we operate in order to be, quote-unquote, a good neighbor. Basically what it says is that if any department of county government is planning to take any action with a county facility, parkland, as I mentioned, sewer system, county road, that has an impact on the local community that this facility is based in or this asset is based in, before we take that action, we have to send a delegation of county officials to your duly scheduled meeting, and obviously if it's on camera so that people can see it, and present what that plan is so that you're able to know it in advance and question the individuals from the county government that are trying to enact this. So if it's a parks-related issue, if it's a transportation-related issue, if it's of some significant importance, we come to you. Not we hold a meeting in White Plains 11 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, come if you can make it type of thing. Then at that point, having answered questions at an open public meeting of your village board, we then enter up to a 60-day period. It could be less at your discretion, but at least 60 days, which allows you to consider, as a duly elected board, what your opinion is on this proposal. And during that period of time, you can hold a public forum, meet with residents. If it's a regional part of the village where you want to go meet with neighbors and that, you have that option open to you. At the end of the 60 days, we invite you to send a letter of support, neutrality, or opposition to whatever the proposal is. Obviously, if it's support or neutrality, it's not a problem. If it's opposition, then you're going to lay out some issues, and then we're required internally, our commissioners or whatever department head it is that's advanced this thing, to look at the objections and to determine if we need to respond to them, if we're going to change our plan, not do our plan, or whatever it is, but to give you the sense that you really have an input in terms of what that decision might be. This came out of my experience many years ago when I had a job equivalent to yours. I was a councilman in my home community in Rye. We have a very big county presence in our area. Playland is there, Marshlands Conservancy, Reed Sanctuary, and we have a sewer treatment plant and so forth. And what I found in those days is that the county acted unilaterally, did not care what I thought as a councilman, did not come before us to consult us. We had to deal with traffic impact, noise impact, detour routes, no say. I never thought I'd be county executive, so now that I am, I have the opportunity to do something in a way I think is hopefully helpful. The biggest open area, and those of you who may be lawyers, I don't know all of your professions, but I'm not a lawyer. But
We've got no lawyer. Oh, I'm sorry. We have one
yeah, okay. Then he'll pick
Want to
up
sell
on
a
this.
house? I can do that for you.
But if you want anybody to market something, I'm your guy. Should I decide to get some sanity and leave public office? But go back to work. Right, that's what my wife says. But in any event, you'll see in the therefore paragraph, it says, prior to any significant proposed action. What's a significant proposed action? We wrote it vaguely so that it can be interpreted by us or by you as open-ended, because when we tried to figure out, is there any way we can codify this more tightly, then you wind up excluding certain things and not necessarily being inclusive. So if an action is considered by you to be significant, and you'll probably find this out through your professional staff, you'll find out somewhere along the line that the county's looking at doing X, Y, and Z, and you consider it significant, then you can trigger the good neighbor policy going into effect, as is our responsibility, and I've told all the commissioners. We need to go where we haven't gone before. We need to establish trust. We need to establish some relationship. Why do we need to do that? Well, shared services is going to be on our docket of conversation. If you don't have trust that you're dealing with a friend and a partner in the county government, then we're not going to get involved. You're not going to get involved in shared services. We have any number of different other issues that are going to come up from time to time, and there needs to be just a better sense that we're not one corporate entity, and we don't care about your corporate entity, that there's an opportunity to work together. If we disagree on something, we disagree. If you have an interest that leads you in one direction and we in another direction, then at least we have the opportunity to talk it through and see if we can find common ground, and if we can't, the next issue that comes up may be where we have common ground. But that's the purpose behind this policy. If there are any questions at the moment, I'm happy to try to answer it. It is in effect now, and if for any reason there is a pending, when I checked before coming here, I'm doing these meetings on a regular basis, and I try to check in advance, do we have anything open-ended with the village? I didn't hear of anything, but if you're aware of something that I don't know, then I'm happy to go back tomorrow in White Plains and trigger this on something that might be pending. But Mr. Mayor, village trustees, if there's something you'd like me to answer, I'm happy to give it a try.
So, first off, thank you for coming. Very much appreciate your visit and welcome you at any time. Open door policy, come visit every other Monday. This seems like a great and positive step forward. We certainly have had in the past some moments when we've found ourselves at loggerheads with the county and felt like we were the last to hear, and clearly that will no longer be the case. So happy to hear that. Also wanted to give a shout out to the shared services venture, which you have kicked off now with some outside resources, including our recently retired Administrator Patty Dwyer, who's a great resource for you.
We're very happy to have her. Thank you
Right.
For letting her
sending her
retire.
our way.
Folks at the Rockefeller Institute and the like. Just feels like a really great opportunity for folks to step back a little bit from the rather rushed episode that arose last year when it got wedged into the state budget. Speaking personally, I'm not convinced it belongs in the state budget, but I am convinced it's a worthy venture, and if that was the lever that made it happen, perhaps that's a good thing. But just wanted to thank you for having impaneled it in a way that feels like it will produce results, and those results will compound over the years.
And, you know, we're looking at a variety of different things. Don't know what we'll settle on as a final set of projects. Some things we might do in a future year. But I'm not concerned if the end result of this process raises county obligation or the need for resources if there's a greater savings at the local level of government. So if by us doing something regionally saves more money in village and town taxes than you spend in county taxes, then I'm not averse to doing it, because it's the net result that matters. That's not always been the philosophy. It's been more about, as long as I don't have to raise my taxes, I really don't
I
care what you
win.
do with yours. And we will dump responsibilities down, and that doesn't accomplish the mission. The mission is to lower the total tax burden if you can. Obviously, your taxes, the town taxes, and our taxes don't begin to equal the school taxes, and that's really the next round of cooperation we have to try to find. But if we don't do this, then we're fools, because we're in an environment where clearly all of us feel highly taxed, and we also know that we've got obligations that the higher levels of government require you to do and require us to do. We don't have an option. We're going to have to do those services. So we have to find economies if we can. And that cooperation may be in non-economic matters as well. I know, strong environmental policies here in this village. We're trying to establish strong environmental policies of the county, and that may be the area of cooperation that we find. It might be in any number of different, venues, and we'll look to try to find them if we can, as you see fit.
May I pick up on that last point?
Please.
If you had come to our last meeting, you would have had a much bigger audience, because we had the public hearing for the reusable bag initiative, which we ended up passing. There's been talk about a similar initiative on the county level. I was wondering if you could tell us, if that's actually...
There's a bill before the legislature which has not yet come to public hearing.
Okay.
And it has two component pieces to it, and it's sponsored by a number of legislators, Kitley Koval, Nancy Barr, and Catherine Parker. And their proposal has two elements. It bans reusable plastic bags, and it puts a fee on
Single use.
paper bags.
Yep.
Single use, thank you for the right terminology. And puts a 5-cent fee on paper bags,
Okay.
as I recall. There's a discussion, because there's a lot of debate, primarily over the fee element with the paper bags. Now, different communities have done different things. Prior to being in this position, I represent a number of communities in other legislative positions, county legislators, state legislators, so forth. And my home region of the county is the Sound Shore. And in the Sound Shore, we've had a number of communities that just banned the single-use bags, and that was their output without a fee attached. So that's the debate that's going on now. I suspect there'll be a public hearing. I don't know if they'll do it in August. They'll probably wait until September, when we think there's enough people to come out and speak.
Right.
And then we'll see if they have the votes and support. What I've said to the legislature is I would intend to sign into law something that strengthens us, but you have to give an indication to us as to what we get. It's a different place for me to be, because I've been a legislator all my life, and you're usually in the middle of the debate all the time. But in this case, it's the proper authority of the legislature to debate what they want to have, and whatever they send in final form, hopefully, it'll be better than what we have now, which is nothing. So I suspect that signing into law. But we don't know exactly, Nicole, what it'll look like
Okay.
until they finish further discussion.
Well, on that point, our biggest grocer is Key Food, obviously. That store is is controlled by our bag ordinance we just adopted, which is a dime for paper, dime for plastic for 6 months, and then plastic single-use bags get banned. And his biggest concern was an unfair playing field where he can't hand out plastic bags, but ShopRite right down the road can. A lot of distinctions between this store and that store, and there was a lot of
Is
discussion.
ShopRite in another jurisdiction?
ShopRite's in the
Cornwood.
town of Mount
Cornwood.
Pleasant.
Yes, that's the
And this is in the
problem.
village of Pleasantville, so they're not governed by our law, and he is. And that was his biggest concern, and even he said if the county would pass something or the state would
Right.
pass something, I'd be happy, he'd be fine. He would have
And that's
no
the
problem.
logic of us doing it, because, and I could appreciate it from a business standpoint, you can't have a crazy quilt pattern of 8 communities do this,
That's right.
9 communities do that, 12 communities do nothing, and so it does make sense to have a countywide situation. I will tell you that the pushback you get on these laws is from the larger urbanized communities. And those communities have people who are relatively poor, and their representatives are saying that, the fees, which, the more upscale communities, and I live in Rise City, and places like Larchmont Village and Romantic Village, which have adopted this, skew economically higher, for which the fee of a dime or a nickel or whatever it comes down to is less burdensome, but it's perceived to be more burdensome in the Yonkers and the Mount Vernons of the county. So that's some of the push-pull that's going on in the
With the
legislative
fee,
debate.
it's localized on the fee itself, not the idea of a ban.
Yeah, no, I think in general, there's a desire for us to reduce these things out of it. And again, if we can get to a countywide law, then that's rationality. But also, again, many of these communities, you have 1 or 2 major stores that are involved in using these things. When you get to the bigger communities, and there's a multiple number of stores, some big box stores which don't exist in our small villages and small cities. So that's really the push and pull. But I think, what your business person reflected is accurate. We ought to be doing things at a more broad-based basis. Once we know there's critical interest, and there's clearly critical interest. Newcastle has acted, that's nearby, although not, right next door. And every community that starts to act in this direction gives us the political will to act on a broad basis.
Sounds good.
So will Newcastle cover the Whole Foods that's going in there?
Yes.
Yes.
that's
So what did they enact?
They
have a
have a
ban.
plastic bag ban. Whole Foods has never used plastic bags, I
Right.
don't think, so
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
one of the-
a
It's
non-issue.
ban and fee, similar to what ours.
Well, that level playing field issue also applied to age to buy tobacco products, and
Right.
appreciated the
Yes.
county taking
Yeah,
action there
that was
because
good.
That was great.
we were,
Tobacco 21 and applying to electronic products as well as regular tobacco products. This is a, as you follow the elections, and in our election last November, there was a different change in the Board of Legislators and its makeup, and, my philosophies are different from my predecessors, and we litigated that during the campaign.
Yeah.
That's what it was for. You saw the differences, and so in coming into office, I feel comfortable in advancing the policies, whether it's banning the gun show or moving forward on a host of other initiatives. I believe the voters knew that when they went to the polls, and so those are the things we're trying to execute. But where there are implementation issues that you experience on any of these policies, then we welcome the feedback. And it could be, it could be in any one of these different areas. There's a host of areas. You're represented by whom in the county legislature?
Margaret
Margaret
Kunzio.
Margaret Kunzio, okay. So, whatever feedback you have through Margaret is fine, but we're also doing a variety of things, coffee and conversations, where I'll come with the county legislator in a public setting. We did do one in Mount Pleasant a couple of weeks ago, and we'll find a date and time to do it in Pleasantville. And of course, the greatest advocate you have in the county government is our county attorney, John Nona,
Yeah.
who speaks highly of his time here in this government.
And we have him.
So we have a-
So we're very lucky to have him.
There's his picture over there on the wall.
Oh, is he there?
Yeah.
God, he should look
Smiling
younger
at
those
you.
days. I gotta dig him. He looks a lot younger there.
While we have you, is the privatization of Westchester Airport off the table finally?
Basically, I think it is. The sense that we had from having 3 public hearings is that people are very concerned over having some access to control over the noise in their houses and the flight paths and so forth, which we don't have direct control because the county doesn't directly control this, as the
Sure.
FAA does.
Right.
But you have in county government an accountable mechanism to advocate for you, which you wouldn't have if we changed the governance of the
Yeah.
airport and we privatized it to some entity that we would give all the control to in order to get some dollars out of it. The public hearings that we had identified some things that we can do unilaterally, and one of them is completely restructuring the noise abatement location of monitors, make sure that they're modern equipment, make sure that they're where the current paths are,
Where the
which is
flight-
much
because they
more
all
Pleasantville, Chappaqua
Yeah.
these days.
Yeah, it all
that-
shifted 3 or
Right.
4 miles.
A number of years ago, representing where I did, I heard a lot of Rybrook, Rye complaints, and now they seem to be patterned this way because of the way the flight paths have been emphasized. But in terms of where we're going to finally settle on it, if there was going to be any change, we'll have dialogue with the County Board of Legislators, and it either will or won't be included in the county budget in November. And we expect to have, as we've done in some other things, some open public hearings before we put the budget together. So it'll be an executive branch set of hearings, and the legislature would have legislative hearings. But the legislature has shown no appetite for that, and I personally would rather try to see if we can manage that process better. But we haven't had a formal announcement, no, we're not doing it,
Right.
but I think that's where the general consensus is. We do have a fiscal hole. I inherited a
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
and it's a significant problem. You've read about it, I don't need to beat it to death. We're trying to figure out how to close that gap without having a high property tax increase, so we're looking for alternate revenues. But we don't want an alternate revenue that compromises us on a public policy issue,
Yeah.
so that we wind up selling off to satisfy a given budget, something that, 10 years from now will still be a cost factor, because nobody remembers the delicious steak they had a month ago, and if you hock the house, didn't pay your mortgage payment to get the steak, then it's a foolish decision, and that's what we're going to try to avoid if we can.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time and courtesy. Have a wonderful
Likewise,
evening.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
for
Appreciate
stopping
the
by.
visit.
Thank you, my pleasure.
All right, any further comments from the board?
I did have one more announcement to tack on to yours, if I may. I just wanted to mention a village project that's in the works right now, which I mentioned a few months back, but it's actually happening now, which is a planting on the island on Manville Avenue and Rebecca, I believe it is. Which is a little bit different from plantings that have happened in the village before, because it's designed to be primarily comprised of plants that are native to the region and to have a host of benefits to wildlife, specifically pollinators, as well as to be attractive. And I wanted to give a shout out to Carolyn Ramsey from the Garden Club, who has been the designer on this project and who purchased all the plants for the village, or selected all the plants for the village, and the DPW guys who have worked really hard on this. During the first planting, they discovered that the soil was much harder to work with than when they thought, and so it was quite a tremendous job. And they will be out there working tomorrow, planting another 40 plants in the rain. So if anybody sees them out there and wants to bring them cups of coffee or something, I'm sure they would appreciate it. And I'll just to tack on, I will be posting about it on the Facebook page too, because we hope to make this an education project in addition to a beautification project, to teach people a little bit about plants that are native to our region and the ecological benefits they have, as well as the aesthetic benefits.
Great, thank you for that, and thank you for spearheading that on behalf of the village. Appreciate it. Anything else? Okay, with that, we'll go to our resolutions, number 170. Nicole.
Resolved that the following budget amendments are hereby approved as listed below. Okay, so appropriate fund balance to general fund in the amount of $80,000. It's a transfer to capital for Manville Road improvements. And then is this the same amount in the second, the same chunk of money we're talking about in the second one? Okay, so $80,000 interfund transfer from general fund, again, Manville Road improvements, village funds.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Excuse me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 171, Steve.
Resolved that the pre-check register dated July 23rd, 2018, covering check numbers 90347 to 90505, is hereby approved as listed below from the general fund, the water fund, the capital fund, and the refuse fund, a total of $726,158.38.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Oh, comments or questions? There are 3 different check registers.
Right. Not a small one this time.
Okay. No, not a small one. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Joe, 172.
Resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the planning advisory services agreement with Frederick P. Clark Associates, Inc. for fiscal year 2018 to 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
FP Clark has provided professional planning support for our planning commission for quite a few years. The current incumbent in that position is Sarah Brown, who has been doing a good job for us. This establishes a rate going forward for $200 per hour. That's up modestly from the last contract for the past 2 fiscal years of $195. Does not commit the village to any specific amount. It's on a time and materials basis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 173, David.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby accepts an anonymous donation to the Clinton Street Center in the amount of $200.
Is there a second?
Second.
This continuing stream of donations to our center, very much appreciated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 174, Nicole.
Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Pleasantville has received a copy of the Justice Court audit for fiscal year ending May 31st, 2018, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees authorizes the village clerk to file the fiscal year end 2018 Justice Court audit with the Office of Court Administration pursuant to Section 2019A of the Uniform Justice Court Act.
Is there a second?
Second.
So back up to this, we have a letter both from Judge Curley and Judge Collins forwarding this to us, and a copy of the independent auditor's report from PKF O'Connor Davies. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. 175, Steve.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the village administrator to execute a revocable license agreement with Edward and Valerie Reich, 200 Washington Avenue, for the purpose of removing and replacing a fence in the village's right-of-way.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again, we have a backup request to replace the fence as surveyed in the draft license agreement. Same arrangement we offer in circumstances like this, and it's approved. I believe the building inspector agrees that we should approve.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion approved. 176, Joe.
Resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the application to apply for the renewal of a food service establishment permit with the Westchester County Department of Health, valid October 1, 2018 to September 31, 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
This is the senior center
Right,
kitchen.
senior center kitchen.
Or the permit for it. Right?
The permit for it,
Right.
to maintain that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. 177, David.
Resolved that the village board hereby authorizes the village administrator to sign the intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County for participation in the Westchester County Repository of Integrated Criminalistic Information REACHI system for the period May 1st, 2018 to April 30th, 2023.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the shared computer system that allows us to electronically transmit fingerprints and arrest booking information, and we have a letter from the police department extolling its virtues, which are apparent, I think, to all of us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
motion approved. That's the end of our regular resolutions. Did anyone have any new business to add?
Just a question. I don't see, because it was a significant meeting last meeting, and a lot of people, is there a reason we don't have a resolution adopting the minutes of the last meeting, or it's
I don't
not
have-
ready yet?
I don't have them ready yet.
It was long. I'm not.
And not only was it long, she was in the middle of music festival
Oh,
craziness. Yes.
I'm not pushing. I'm just curious why.
Yes.
We just didn't get them done yet. Okay, so next meeting.
Yeah. Shout out to Noreen.
Thank you, Noreen.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the music
Yes.
festival.
By
I
the
should have
way,
done
yes.
that up front.
Yes.
We're not talking about just one day or 1 week,
No.
but she's been on this case for months as a trusted partner and a good administrator. So thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Well done.
Great.
Is there a motion to go into executive session on a legal matter, a real estate matter, and a personnel matter?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved, into executive session. Thank you all very much for watching. We will be back in, let's see here, what's our next date? The 13th, right?
Yes.
August 13th The way the dates fall, that's a 3-week gap. See you then.